Oh, God! Oh! Oh!
Last time on the Anything for a Bit Sportscast.
Oh, God! Oh! Bro, that will never not be funny. Oh my God!
Welcome, AFAB family.
The sounds.
It's the Anything for a Bit Sportscast. Tyler Watts, the golden voice, the people's choice. Eli Pena, the man himself with the flowing locks. How we doing today?
What's up with it? What's good?
I know, judging by that clip, it might seem like I was distressed or that we had some kind of issue this weekend. A little clip there of our reaction to our first round draft pick, which was just too golden to not pass up. Please don't ever let that clip die.
Oh man, just gonna randomly play that.
I just love it. Yep.
It's gonna be like week 7 next year, and I'm just gonna like drop it for no reason, like mid conversation. You're gonna be making a great point, and I'm just gonna nope.
Yep.
Not anymore.
We're gonna need that drop to live eternally. But look, that's what we're doing here today on the Anything for a Bit Sportscast. We are reacting, recapping, and discussing the Cowboys 2022 NFL Draft. All of the picks, not just the first. We'll go into a little detail about why the reaction there, and see if we can justify that. But that's the fun, right? Like, I get to be ridiculous in the moment and then change my mind later, right? So that's good.
Have you changed your mind?
Or I guess I should say express my frustrations a little better instead of just random dinosaur noises.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Because like I haven't changed my mind. I still feel the exact same way. Like, 3 days did not make Tyler Smith a better football player. So,
man, that's good.
But no, we're good. We're good. I'm holding it down with the frozen glass tonight. We got the Elsa with what's the snowman's? I don't know the snowman's name. Olaf. Elsa and Olaf. Oh, and Anna too. She's there too. I didn't realize. So
very good. Very good.
Nice refreshing glass of Elsa water. She makes things cold. So
yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
good. You're doing a good thing. You're doing a good bit.
Let's talk draft, man. So how we want to do this? We want to go.
Let's just go by each round. Yeah, let's just go by each round, and I think our beautiful AFAB family has seen our reaction and talked about it a little bit while we were on the draft stream. Thank you for everybody that joined and watched. But yeah, our first round pick there at number 24, something we speculated heavily on. We did the mock. a conventional there, we were kind of split, right? And I mean, we as in the fan base, there was a decent amount of us that wanted us to go up and get a wide receiver, um, or a tackle, or one of those premier players in that 12 to 16 range if those people fell. And there were a decent amount of people that wanted us to trade back, see if we could pick up some assets for the juicy part of the draft. And yeah,
It's
where
juicy.
where there was some depth, which made day two and day three interesting. So we didn't do either of those. We picked at number 24, okay, and got Mr. Tyler Smith, offensive tackle out of Tulsa, who is, after a few days of interviews, so easy to root for. Guys' background and their stories help you, rally behind the pick pretty easily. But at the time, obviously, we were distressed.
Tyler, I got to tell you, I love this guy. My favorite player in the whole draft. Number 1 on the board.
Sounds like your fake Mel Kiper voice.
Was that a pretty good Mel Kiper? That's kind of what I was going for there. How'd we feel about that? Was that needs a little bit more work?
Yeah, you need to pause.
I gotta get that accent, like he's got that. He lays it on thick.
Yeah, he does. He does.
But
yeah,
look,
talk
man,
to us a little bit about the pick. Why? What is your main issues with it? A couple of days removed from it, how are you feeling about it?
I mean, basically the same way that I felt, when I left the room for 5 minutes, right?
Right.
Look, it was a guy that I had looking at him on tape in like the 3rd round.
Okay.
His footwork isn't great. It's actually pretty bad a lot of the time.
Okay.
He gets really upright when he's in pass protection. So you kind of see him just kind of stand up, right? And his arms are okay, his power's good, right? So he makes up for it. But again, we're talking about a guy that played at Tulsa, so playing D1 competition, but not playing SEC competition, right? ACC
Okay. Okay.
So you can get away with that kind of stuff against those pass rushers, right? You stand straight up with Kayvon Thibodeau, he might hyperextend your knee, right? Like that dude's gonna run through you. So yeah, I think that his technique is really sloppy across the board.
Mm-hmm.
He has all the physical traits in the world, right? He's an absolute freak. 6'4", 3. What is it? I've got Dane's report pulled up. 6'4", 324, almost 6'5".
Mm-hmm.
He's only 21, so he's super young, right? He's a redshirt sophomore. So there's a lot of room for development there. And it's a really good traits pick, right? One of the longest arm guys at the combine. Tested as a pretty good athlete. But you don't take a developmental guy in the 1st round like that, right?
Okay.
And especially when it's not a developmental tackle. This is a guard, right? He
Mm-hmm.
played left tackle at Tulsa, but this is a guard. Tyler Smith is going to be your starting left guard. So if you want to grade the Cowboys on, hey, their plan of attack to go get a starting left guard, they got their starting left guard, I think, but I think you could have got your starting left guard and Ed Ingram in the 2nd round if you wanted to trade up there. You could have gotten Darian Kennard in the 5th round, and there were some medical issues there, but that was a guy that was 2nd or 3rd round on everybody's board, right? Jamari Sawyer was still around late in the draft. There was a lot of guys there later on. I think overall, the Cowboys just kind of telegraphed their plan here, right? They basically said, hey, if one of the wide receivers that we like isn't there, then we're taking an offensive lineman. And we're taking Zion Johnson or Kenyon Green. And if they aren't there, we don't care who's on the board, right? We're taking Tyler Smith. Because we're taking Sam Williams at 56.
Right.
And if I'm taking Sam Williams at 56, why would I take Jermaine Johnson at 24 or George Karlaftis at 24?
Right.
But that's stupid as hell. Because there's no way for you to know that George Karlaftis or Jermaine Johnson was going to be there, right? And I don't – there's no way you could tell me that the drop-off between one of those two guys and Sam Williams is greater or not as great as the drop-off between Tyler Smith and name literally anybody else, right? Because again, this guy on tape was a third rounder for a lot of people. Dane Brugler has him as his number 50 overall player, so he was a little bit higher than some people were. But even then, on Dane Brugler's board, you're saying you took the 50th best player at 24.
Yeah, so he's a middle of the second round guy. Yeah, and look, it's undeniable the amount of people that had him projected much lower than where we selected him. Okay, so that's just a fact. Whether he turns out to be a Pro Bowler and all that, obviously I want him to be a baller. Now, that being said, one of the main things that we talked about through some of the offseason shows and going into this year is the coaching staff, right? And we weren't really impressed last year by offensive line coaching. In fact, it was highlighted that was somewhere that we struggled or maybe even regressed in recent years. And I don't know. I feel like we haven't really done anything to address that. And again, I may be missing something, but I just haven't really seen anything there that suggests that we're going to be some great, talent molders, on the offensive line. And even if we are, I saw some people pointing to Terrence Steele and look at his development, and I'm like, okay, but like still, even if I do give you the benefit of the doubt on all those things, bless you. Is that still what you want to do with your 24th pick? Even if you agree with everything, as stated, is that what you want to do with the 24th pick, right?
Right. And
so
look,
I can't. Yeah, that's why I say I even if I want to say rah, I like the idea. I like the direction you're going. I still don't love what you did value wise with your pick there. I think that's where
and you were kind of saying that night, and we were saying it kind of jokingly, but seriously, the Cowboys are pretty good at this, right? So maybe we all have this wrong and they have it right. People thought that the Cowboys were a little crazy for Travis Frederick. They thought they took Zach Martin too high, right? So we'll see, but no, I don't like it. And I guess just to put a bow on that, we can read. I'll read off Dane Brugler's summary of the player really quickly, just to kind of give everybody an idea of what we're looking at, and then we can move on to the second round. If that sounds good to you.
Yep.
All right. So I won't read the whole summary, but he was a 3-year starter at Tulsa, lined up at left tackle, one of the youngest players in the draft, earned all AAC honors each of the last 2 seasons. So, he's kind of top marks in that conference. With his size, movement skills, and physical brand of football, Smith is the type of young talent ideal for drafting and developing at the right price. However, he relies too much on his aggression, and his chaotic timing and technique lead to balance issues. So again, that's just kind of what I'm saying. His feet, right? He stands up kind of straight. His hands aren't always where they need to be when they need to be there. Overall, Smith is incredibly raw, but he has the play strength and physical traits to get significantly better with technical and mental development. There is a sizable gap between where he is now and his ceiling as a potential NFL starter. Will require a patient coaching staff ready for a project. This doesn't sound like a first-round guy to me, right? That just doesn't sound like a project, right? The very last word in Dane's summary just doesn't sound like a first-round guy. Sounds like he could develop into a really strong player, but it also could be 2 or 3 years before, you really get the payoff there. So,
yeah.
We'll just see how that one plays out. But as of right now, I am not in love with that pick.
Right.
What
round number 2. Oh, yeah.
So Parsons and Lloyd would have been a sexy linebacker core. I know that's a lot of capital in the linebacker core in recent drafts, but still. Look, give me Devin Lloyd.
There were 4 people, right? There were 4 people there that we were kind of just okay with. Just
right.
Any of them.
There was probably 30 people that I would have taken before Tyler Smith. So, But yeah, Lloyd is one of those players that we were looking at. We know he was on the 30 visit list for the Cowboys that kind of got wiped out of their board. That would have definitely been a better player for me, for sure. But they did what they did. Talk to me about Sam Williams. What we got?
Sam Williams was a second round pick, number 56 off the board, edge rusher out of Mississippi. Okay. From CBS Sports, uh, recap real quick here. One of the best pass rushers in 2021. Does he have double digit sacks in the SEC, if I remember
He
correctly?
did. He did like 12 and a half or something, I
Right.
think.
So off the field red flags caused a draft slide. Okay. So it was a guy with the talent that, fell a little bit. And notable athleticism comps, and this is like again from CBS Sports, Kayvon, Shaq Lawson, and Jermaine Johnson. So you're talking about a talent, athletic wise, that is near the top of the draft here with Sam Williams. But again, like I mentioned, a few off the field issues keeps him out of I guess the first crop of pass rushers. But this makes sense, right? We know very much the saga of Randy Gregory and his departure. We also, in the free agent market, brought in Dante Fowler, re-signed Dorrance. And while Dante Fowler is interesting and hopeful production wise, there were a lot of people still left longing for more free agent activity or more likely being addressed in the high rounds of the draft. In the second round it goes here with a lot of people saying that with the talent that's on this defense, Sam Williams will be able to come in and do what he does best as a pass rusher, with some people pointing to holes in his game, particularly in run defense, than and saying that he may not be all that is cracked up to be. But what do we think about that, Mr. Pena?
I don't hate this pick. I didn't love it in the moment, again, because I had better players on the board. Right. There was a couple people that I was looking at ahead of him there. And I don't think this was a situation of off-field issues that kept him from being a day one pick and he slid to day two. His tape is day two, second, third round tape.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think for me, I would like him somewhere. And I think this is what you saw with the Cowboys with a lot of these couple early picks, right? For me, I probably would have liked him more ideally, like somewhere in the 70s, right? But if you're the Cowboys, you have pick 56, you have pick 88, right? He's probably not going to be there at 88, right? So if the Cowboys really want him, which we know they did, they were connected to him throughout the whole draft process. People are talking about him like, this guy talks like Micah Parsons, right? Like, we're already trying to set this bar for him before he's even a Cowboy. So we knew they telegraphed this one, right? Everybody knew that there was a pretty damn good chance that this was going to be the pick at 56.
I mean, DQ is on on the internet taking this guy through drills,
right? Right. And again, I mean,
if could you be?
There's not a guy that we trust more in Cowboys Nation right now than Dan Quinn.
Exactly.
So Dan Quinn said, hey, we got to get this dude at 56. Maybe it's a little bit early, but he's not going to be there at 88. Then we take him at 56 and we move forward, right? So yeah, I don't hate the pick. But yeah, I do think there's definitely still some development there, right? He's got the athleticism. You see a lot of people talking about him like a Randy Gregory heir apparent, right? Because he's kind of got a similar athletic profile.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But like Randy as well, you talked about the setting the edge in the run game. He's got to be more consistent as a pass rusher. He's got to develop his pass rush moves. You can't just win with physical traits in the NFL. You got to have
right.
So yeah, I think there's definitely some developmental aspects there, but not a bad pick. Dane had him 91 overall on his board, so a third round pick.
Yeah, and look, like you mentioned, right, that we're gonna take, we're gonna take Tyler Smith, and we're okay with that because we know we're gonna take Sam Williams, right? this is part of the plan, right? I don't mean that in a derogatory fashion. I just mean that
This is what
those
they did.
picks, right, don't necessarily line up with the best players who were available, right? So
they said Tyler Smith is going to be gone by like pick 45. We don't have a pick there. So what do we do if we don't want to trade up? We go get him at 24. Sam Williams is going to be gone by pick 75. We don't have a pick there. So what do? We take him at 56 if we don't want to trade up to go get him, right?
Right.
That's just, it just looks like that's what they did the first couple rounds of the draft. Now the payoff, though, is Jalen Tolbert in the third.
Right.
Because Jalen Tolbert was one of those guys that I wanted at 56. Right? Like that was one of the handful of guys that was on that short list of like, yeah, go get this dude at 56. And then they took Sam Williams.
Right.
So this kind of, it feels very Michael Gallup-esque from a few years ago, where there was this whole run of second-round wide receivers, and we're sitting there, the Cowboys pick, and we're like, yeah, they're going to take one of these guys. Michael Gallup, there's a couple other names on the board still at that point. They pass on the wide receiver. The whole world is pissed. All of Cowboys Nation is burning down. We didn't get a wide receiver. And then Michael Gallup is there at 83 or whatever pick it was, right, in the third round. Very similar with Jalen Tolbert, where he's there at 88, sitting there waiting for you. Funny enough, I think they took their top 3 picks maybe in like the reverse order of what I would have done. Not that Jalen Tolbert was worth the first round pick, but I think Tolbert would be my highest rated player of the 3 between Tolbert, Smith, and Williams. And Williams would probably be number 2, and Tyler Smith would probably be my third rated player on that board. So they kind of went in inverse order there for me, I think. But the Tolbert get at 88, really, really boosts the value of this draft class. Puts a different level of sheen on it, right? Where you reach for 2 guys early on, you get what could be a nice little steal in the third round there. A guy that plays inside, outside, and probably his best position is the Z, where you had CD last year. But we love that, right? Because we can put CD in the slot now. And just imagine, hey, please run cover 2 shell against Dak Prescott and CD Lamb in the slot, instead of Cedric Wilson in the slot. And Ced did an admirable job in the slot. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, he got paid.
But if you give CD Lamb that kind of ability to run in the slot with that coverage look, he's gonna have a Cooper Kupp season. Right? Like he's gonna play like Cooper Kupp out of the slot if he gets that kind of run. Love this pick.
Yeah, the pick is probably the one that I'm the most in love with, as far as like, when it was made, I'm like, yes, that's that's excellent. Now, really, we're looking at what up, Juan?
¿Qué dice, manito? ¿Cómo anda?
Yeah, when we're looking at it, it's the versatility, like you mentioned, right? Tolbert plays all 3 positions, and no, Juan, we're just recapping the third round right now.
3, baby.
We're gonna talk through a couple of those the undrafted free agents, the 5th round guys. Yeah, we're not there quite yet. Appreciate you joining. But yeah, Tolbert's versatility and the measurables. I was talking to you about one of these advanced statistics websites, Reception Perception, and Tolbert just measures off the chart with the separation, just getting open, what he does after the catch as well. I just think he's going to fit in really well. And you talk about a receiver that fits the Dak Prescott profile, right? Because I don't want to throw a bunch of contested balls when I'm Dak, right? I want my receiver to be open. I'll even lead him a little bit, but I'm not going to turn the ball over, right? Like we know who our guy is. So my receivers gotta show the QB his numbers and be, a step, NFL open at least for him to let that thing go. And Dak has shown the accuracy, right? So Tolbert's a good fit with that. Hopefully, scheme wise too, you see the coaching staff progress and make sure that we use all these weapons correctly. Receivers and backs included. So
the Tolbert pick. Yeah, it's really exciting to me. Some of the stuff you're kind of talking about there, because he does have that ability to play wherever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this last night offline when we were just chatting. But one thing that I really like the idea of with the Tolbert pick is that when I'm moving CD Lamb around, I'm not telegraphing what I'm running, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
when I move CD from the slot to the outside, probably the best thing that I'm going to do there is a little bubble screen to him, right? Get him in space on the outside, get Tolbert in there blocking, or my tight end, if it's Schultz, whoever it is on the slot side with him there. That's usually what I'm going to do with CD there if I'm just moving him from the slot to the outside. He can run the full route tree, right? But if I'm a defense and I start seeing that trend, right? Oh, they're flipping and now CD's getting the screen, then I start to pick up on that trend a little bit. Now I'm going to play that. The great
Mm-hmm.
thing with Tolbert and CD being interchangeable is I can run that, but then I can also just run a normal pass set, right? I can run
Mm-hmm.
CD on a go to the outside. I can run, Tolbert on an over route across the middle of the field. And if they're playing that screen, somebody's getting beat deep, right? And we're getting a
Mm-hmm.
big chunk play out of that. So I think that, like you said, hopefully the coaching staff does what they need to do scheme wise, and they really develop a way to where we can move these guys around and we can really disguise what we're doing based off our alignment. Where, I've got
Mm-hmm.
5, 6, 7 different things that you've got to worry about no matter where my guys are lined up.
Mm-hmm.
And then Michael Gallup can just be turned loose to go be that X receiver, right? Get
Right.
downfield, contort your body, spin around, get my 50-50 balls.
Right.
I really like what this does for the receiving core to have Tolbert in the mix here. And I think this is probably going to be your day one starting wide receiver, your wide receiver 3. Like I said, I think I would like to see him in the Z naturally, but please put him everywhere, Kellen. So
Yeah. No,
great
and
pick
then
at 88.
it is, and at this point, right, we're starting to feel really good about what the draft is shaping up to be overall, right? We don't agree again, don't agree with the value um, of those first couple of picks, but starting to look at the class overall and how it fits into the team, starting to feel pretty good. In round
You
number
got some physical
4,
players too. That's
yeah,
really what we
yeah,
want with that
absolutely,
physicality.
right.
So
Got some nasty. Um, so round number 4, pick 129, Jake Ferguson gets selected, tight end out of Wisconsin. Um, who even during the telecast, a lot of people just mentioned like, look, this is just a guy.
mhm.
This is going to the store and getting just some paper towels. It doesn't really matter, right? We're all good, right? Like the give me some bounty, give me some. Well, I know you're particular to Vivas, but give me some.
Gotta have my
Just give me
Vivas,
one,
dude.
right? They're gonna
Gotta have
work,
my
right?
Vivas.
Now, obviously, there are some tight ends that are undesirable, but this is just a guy, right? He can kind of block, he can kind of catch. He knows how to get in the right spot. He's not an outstanding athlete. He just does a little bit of everything. Just is a
Yeah.
guy.
It's Dalton Schultz. We took
He's
Dalton
gonna make
Schultz
the
in the
team.
4th round 4 years
Yeah,
ago. He's Dalton
yeah,
Schultz. It's what he is.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't think
He's
anything
just
more really needs to be said about that.
yep.
Dane had him as a 5th round. We took him in the middle of the 4th.
Just
Great.
yeah.
Welcome to
Just a
the
guy.
team, Jake Ferguson.
Yep, he'll make it.
6'5",
Um
250-pound white guy that lines up in the slot. Okay.
Fifth round, we had 4 selections, right? And going into the draft, we were wondering, are we going to make these picks? Will fifth round picks be some currency with the depth of this draft to go up and get some players, right, in some of these earlier rounds? But turned out the plan was to pick people with all these selections, right? Um, and basically, the idea here, right? And correct me if I'm wrong. We went with a lot of traits, guys.
Yeah.
Right? Like we went with everyone who just had some upside because let's be honest, the fifth round pick might not even be on the roster, but these guys, hopefully throughout these 4 guys, maybe 2 of them turned into decent, NFL players for the next couple of years on your roster. Um, but again, some great athletic traits. Um,
Yeah,
Matt
we got a
Willett,
celebrity too, right? We got Mike Wazowski from Monsters Inc. To play
yeah,
left tackle.
yeah. I think you meant Matt Wiletsko,
That's what I said, right?
offensive tackle out of North
Mike
Dakota.
Wazowski.
Yeah.
I actually like this pick, and I'll say, the 5th round as a collective was probably my favorite round of the draft from a value standpoint. So
Yeah.
Jalen Tolbert, my favorite pick, but I really liked what the Cowboys did in the 5th round. I know nothing about Matt Wiletsko, like
Nothing.
not even a little bit. Seen some highlights now. He's big as hell. He's
Right.
strong as hell. He's fast as hell for his size.
Yep.
He's mean as hell.
Yep.
And we got him in the 5th round. Second longest wingspan in the entire draft class.
You saw that relative athletic score, go around quite a bit with this draft, right? You saw the screenshots on Twitter.
Love the relative
For
athletic
Mr.
score.
Wiletsko, he had a 9.96 out of 10. This ranked number 6 out of 1,218 offensive tackles since 1987.
Right, since 1987. Right, yeah. So he's like the 6th most athletic offensive tackle ever entering the draft.
Hey, look, I don't know. Like you said, I don't know a lot about these 5th round picks. But if you tell me I'm going to get the guy with all the athletic traits, and we'll see if he can develop into a talented player, let's do it all day in the 5th round, right? Same thing here with Mr. Deron Bland, right? Corner out of Fresno State, right? At
Another traits pick.
Is another one, right?
Yep, prototypical size and length, right? 6'1" ish, 197 pounds. Arms are a good length.
Yep.
Ran in the 4.4s in his 40. He's just prototypical size and speed. And Dan Quinn loves long arm, fast corners. So again, we didn't have to get him in the 3rd round like we did Nahshon Wright last year. So please throw all the darts at the athletic guys in the 5th round.
So another guy, right? And I'm just going to mention all of them together, right? At 176, Clark, the linebacker out of LSU. This guy, from what I was reading, top 50 talent if he doesn't have the spinal fusion surgery, right? Like we're talking about a top 100 player easily. So to get him in the 5th round, obviously, huge risk there with the position he plays and the nature of his injury. But a guy that, hey, if he can stay healthy, you're getting, what the Cowboys love. And it seems like their MO more than picking known commodities is can I get someone that's got a little bit of a discount? Can I get someone that's a little that's got all the talent, but maybe there's just something there, whether it's a little
why not in the 5th round, right?
Right.
Because in the 5th round, like you said earlier, these are guys that are not they're not going to make the roster or they're not going to be on the field, their rookie season, certainly not day one. So he's going to miss basically his entire rookie season because of the spinal surgery, right? I think they said he's going to be out for 5 to 6 months from this point on. So, you may get him back for the last month of the season, maybe. But like if the guy in the 5th round is probably not going to be, helping my team this year anyway and may not ever make the team, yeah, please, let's go get a guy that could have been drafted, in the 60s or 70s, right? Late 2nd, early 3rd round and see if we can help him rehab his injury. And then I get Jabril Cox and Damone Clark, an LSU linebacker core.
Yeah.
And hopefully Sam Williams pans out with DeMarcus Lawrence, and then Micah Parsons can just be literally wherever. It doesn't matter. I don't need him anywhere. I just need him to go make an impact.
Yeah, rounding out that fifth round, right? Talking about guys, for these picks, I know we mentioned these are guys that may or may not make the team, but I really think the Cowboys envision all these guys playing here because they get John Ridgeway, defensive tackle out of Arkansas, big nasty guy in the middle. And again, if you saw some of the comments, right, they talked about drafting Ridgeway, thinking about how they were just destroyed inside by some of the more physical playoff teams, right? Once they got later in the season, those playoff teams, if you look at the yards per carry and go back and look at some of that film, we were just getting completely obliterated up the middle. And while we had some strengths on our defense, this was not one of them. And now we're looking at a situation where Ridgeway comes in and brings some nasty. Bohanna comes back healthy. Dorrance is playing inside, outside, right? We're trying to have a nice rotation of athletes there in the middle, but also big guys, right? And then stopping to play or stop playing so many of these undersized hybrid guys and get somebody in the middle there that's going to eat up a block or two, right?
Yeah, and that's where I wouldn't be surprised to see Ridgeway, kind of like we said with Bohanna last year, right? I wouldn't be surprised to see Ridgeway get a lot of time in the rotation because this is your one tech, right? He's not a three tech. When I look at my three tech defensive tackles, I've already got Neville Gallimore is probably going to be my starter. Then I've got Osa. Then I've got Tristan Hill. I've got a list of guys at that three tech position. Right? Like you said, if Dorrance Armstrong, if DeMarcus Lawrence slide in, it's going to be at that three tech edge rusher. My one tech is a 6th-round pick from last year in Quentin Bohanna, right? That's my one tech. So this guy's already higher value draft capital, even though only a 5th rounder versus a 6th. But this is also a player that a lot of scouts had 3rd round, 4th round grades on. So I think a really, really good value here. I know Dane had him listed as a 3-4, right? So he was somewhere right inside of that top 100, right? Maybe just outside of his top 100. Probably just on the outside looking in there. And you got him at 178 or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
So, this is a guy that you might have gotten 60, 70 picks later than a lot of people projected him to go. You got Damone Clark 100 picks later than he would have gone if he was healthy. So, yeah, the 5th round, you get 2 guys with great traits, and then you get 2 guys that are just phenomenal value picks. And I think Ridgeway could be a guy that you're going to see get a lot of playing time in early rundown situations as that one tech, because he might be better than Quentin Bohanna day one. There's a really good chance. So, really, really like that pick there. And the Cowboys got an Arkansas Razorback. The Jones family loves that.
Look, the draft got rounded out with number 195, Devin Harper, linebacker out of Oklahoma State. He was an official 30 visit guy for the Cowboys.
He was.
Another, right? This is the final pick of the draft, and they stayed true to look like the plan, right? Give me an athlete. Give me a guy that looks, on tape or measurably, right? I shouldn't say on tape, on paper, measurably, looks like an athlete that I want on my defense. And look, if anything, this draft is proving too, Dan Quinn had a lot of input, and Dan Quinn definitely has guys that are loaded up. And at the beginning of the offseason, or right when we got knocked out of the playoffs, I remember on the Fan they were talking about watch for the impressions of Dan Quinn on the team and the team building process, not so much because, or not only because they trust him, but because if we move on from McCarthy, Quinn is likely going to be that guy, right? We're not just going to get rid of him. That Quinn is likely to succeed him. And, it makes sense to build a team that he has some input on, if it could be his in the next year or two here. So interesting to see, his fingerprint, so to speak, on so much of these picks. But I like it. Because if anything you've seen is that
who do you trust more right now than Dan Quinn and the Cowboys
front
office or coaching staff, right?
Yeah.
Fair or unfair, that's the only guy that anybody has anything good to say about right now. So
right. And,
until proven otherwise, if Dan Quinn says something, let's boogie.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, we saw last year that he brought guys in that fit, what he wanted to do, that no one thought were, good enough to play at those positions. And, we saw how that turned out. So please let that man have as many tools as he needs. And let's, make that defense dominant, even more dominant than it was last year. But overall, right, like I said, we had the initial reaction, right, to the first pick.
Oh, God!
Right?
Bro, I will never get over the sounds that you are making ever. Never get over that.
We had the initial reaction to the first pick, but overall, right? If we had to grade what the Cowboys are doing, I thought pretty hard about this. I'm gonna give them a B minus on the draft overall.
That's what I was thinking, actually.
Because while you can, I don't think it's. I know a lot of the grading is subjective, but you cannot ignore the disparity in value on those first two picks in the draft. But overall, when you talk about fitting the needs of your roster and the upside, going forward, and everybody thinks that the sky is the limit at this time of the year, but the Cowboys definitely did a good job. I'm not gonna call it bad. They didn't do trash. They didn't pick trash players. It did a good.
Look, you got 3 starters with your first 3 picks.
Mm-hmm.
Were they the starters I would have drafted? Maybe not. But you got 3 starters with your first 3 picks.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, B minus feels good to me. I think you got good value late in the draft. Love the Jalen Tolbert pick. Don't hate the Sam Williams pick. What is that? The Jim Carrey Grinch back in the day when he's like going through the phone book and he's like hate, and then he gets to it and he's like loathe entirely.
Yes,
that's my assessment of the Tyler Smith pick.
Got it.
Loathe entirely. I mean, and you got to think about it, right? When Daniel asked me, remember Daniel the other night asked me, "Hey, would you trade 50 straight up for Tyler Smith?" And I was like, "Yes."
Mm-hmm.
That's how much I hated that pick. Was like, yeah, sure. I'll move back to 50 and try again.
Could you imagine that?
There'll still be a better player available. So
could you ever imagine that? That would be wild.
Didn't Sky Moore go like 52?
He did.
Right? Wasn't that the Chiefs pick? Was it 52, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Would I trade back to 50 and take Sky Moore over Tyler Smith? Yeah. And then I take Tyler Smith in the 3rd round instead of Jalen Tolbert. Problem solved. You still get him.
Oh, man.
And I get Sky Moore.
Oh, man. It was good, though. That was good. The draft season always feels so long, right? But now is the off season. There'll be a little bit of free agency activity now.
It says we're not done.
Well, I mean, just in general across the league, right? The draft's over. You were holding out a little bit for some trades, things like that. So some of the veteran players that were quote unquote waiting on the dust to settle, you see a little more activity there. I don't know how much of that happens for the Cowboys, but of course we'll look at that still.
Is it weird that my favorite undrafted free agent is the kicker from Texas Tech?
No.
Yeah, because I thought they were going to draft a kicker with one of those picks, honestly.
Yeah.
But they got, what's his name? Garibay? Is that how you say his name?
Yeah, Garibay.
Garibay right. From Tech?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's go get a kicker. It's good.
Let's do it. Just good.
That's my assessment of the undrafted free agent class. We got a kicker. It's good.
Good to not be disparaging the kicker before the season even starts.
Yeah. Let's see what this kid's got.
Yeah, man. But yeah, that's the draft recap. Appreciate the AFAB fam tuning in. I said we had some emotional initial reactions, but we're feeling good about this. Right, it's the start of the 2023 campaign. Oh wow, look at I can't wait. I'm gonna clip this stuff, and when I don't think you'll do it this year, but when you're in the middle of the season talking about we're doing it, this is it, this is the team, they're so nasty, they're so raw, the scheme got the this, the that.
Hey, 8 weeks into the season, bro. 8 weeks into the season.
Yeah, that's why I say this year. We'll probably have to wait a little more for the success.
No. Fool me once, Dallas, Kellen.
I know.
If I see Tony Pollard getting less than 40% of the usage out of the backfield, and I see CeeDee Lamb,
that's going to be the whole
in one spot. I'm boycotting. Moving to Tennessee. I'm going to be.
We're just going to
tighten up.
Every week we'll just have a Bash Kellen session.
Yep, just be a fan of a different team every week. Who knew what they were doing this week? We didn't.
Yeah. But that's it, man. I'm Tyler Watts. That's Eli Pena. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll catch y'all next time, peeps.
AFAB fam out.